Hermione, that's my favourite name in the whole wide world because I'm a massive Harry Potter fan. Hello, Josh. Hello, Jessie. Hello. 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 Awesome. I reckon let's just go ahead. So, thank you so much for having me, Ariel Company Theatre. So I'm here basically to kind of have a chat with you all, answer any questions that you might have. So if you do have any questions, pop them in the chat, and I'll work my way through them. And like I said, I'm working on a couple of different devices here. So if I don't see yours straight away, don't worry, I will get to it, I'm sure. But to start off, so I've got a little quiz for you all. Now, the quiz, I've got a few different rounds. So I thought what we'd do is just do like one round and then do a couple of questions, and then another round and then another couple of questions. You see what I mean? So if we're all ready to go, I'll start with the first round. It's very exciting. I've not done a quiz on a live before. So just to warm us up. So this is a bit of a kind of, they're all based on, I should tell you, shouldn't I? I'm in Six, the musical, if you guys know that show. I play Jane Seymour, and the show's basically about the 6 wives of Henry VIII, and it's kind of follows the stories of the wives, basically, rather than kind of focusing on Henry VIII. You know, when I was at school and we were learning about the Tudors, we learned about Henry VIII and how he had 6 wives, and it was all kind of, the focus was all on Henry. So the thing that the show does really, really well is that it focuses on the wives and their stories, and kind of, you know, we get to know those women as just women, and rather than just because of their connection to the king, if that makes sense. Love the Powerpuff Girls top. Thank you so much. I am Bubbles. So yeah, so that's kind of what we're going to be doing. We're going to learn a bit about the show. You can ask me any questions about the show, or about anything really, about life in the musical theatre industry, or about where I trained, or anything you like. But the quiz that we're going to be doing is based a little bit on Six. So if you know the show, you don't have to have seen it, but if you know the show at all, or if you kind of have listened to the soundtrack, those kind of things, then that will be helpful. If not, if you haven't listened to anything, if you don't know what Six is, if you've never heard of Henry VIII, that's fine too. You're about to learn some stuff. So let me just see if there's been any questions so far. Hello, everyone. Someone's asked me, what Harry Potter house are you? Excellent question, Helen. It is Helen, isn't it? Yes, Helen. I am a Gryffindor. Very proud to say I'm a Gryffindor. I do love Harry Potter so much. I'm obsessed. I look, that's how much I love it. It's a bit lame, but I didn't have many friends growing up, so I just read the books over and over and over. Okay. Oh, everyone's saying that they love Six. Love the Powerpuff Girls top. Thank you very much. Hello. Okay, there's a couple more questions on here, and then we'll get started with the quiz. Are we putting the answers in the chat? Yeah. So, or you can write them down on a piece of paper, and then I'll read out the answers at the end, and so you can see how many you got right. Or you can just pop them in the chat as we go along, help people out. Up to you. You can do it as involved as you want with everybody else. How Henry's the clean-up kid now. I don't get what that means, but I'm sure he is. Soundtrack is amazing. It is amazing. The amazing thing about the show, I think, is that they've done such a great job at making it so current. Like, it's fully like a pop concert, and you do feel that when you see the show. It's literally like a pop concert. Sorry, as I said, just to remind you, I'm working off 2 different devices, which is why I might not be looking at your screen. So we definitely not a Hufflepuff, someone said. What was it like to be part of the Queendom and the Six tour? Oh God, it's so amazing. Honestly, I've never been in a show before where you have this much connection to the fans of the show, and that is something I absolutely love. The Queendom, you know, is so incredible. I've got people that get in touch who are from Brazil or Australia or, you know, wherever, all across the world. So that is so amazing that we get to kind of interact with people from all over the place, and everyone is so supportive. So it's an amazing feeling. Let's do a question from over here. Love 6. Where did I train? So I trained at Guildford School of Acting, which funnily enough is only about 20 minutes down the road from where I'm from, which is in Hampshire. And I loved it there. I did the 3-year musical theatre degree course, and it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. It was probably probably the best 3 years of my life, if I'm honest. I loved it there. The training was incredible. The teachers were incredible. My year group, I was very lucky with my year group. I made the best friends, and we'll kind of be friends for life. But it was hard, don't get me wrong. It was a really tough 3 years as well. So I think that is a big thing, is that, you know, if you're not enjoying it, if you aren't prepared to work hard, don't do this industry, because it's a tough slog. It's always going to be a tough slog, because you're always going to have to be working hard to kind of be successful, or your version of successful. So it is a really tough slog, but if you enjoy it, which I do, then it doesn't feel like it's working hard. Do you see what I mean? Is there one more question before? Tips for doing a cover of Heart of Stone. I'm doing it with my singing teacher. Oh, so Heart of Stone, for those of you who don't know, is the song that I sing in the show. Tips for it. I think take it easy on the first kind of couple of verses, because obviously when you get to the end, she goes crazy. So you need to kind of pace yourself, make sure that you don't give it all in the first chorus and then you're exhausted vocally to the end of the shows, to the end of the song. So yeah, pace yourself. I think in terms of kind of like technically speaking with vocals, I try to not take that much weight up there to the big high notes. I try to mix them. If you don't know what the term mixing is, it's essentially kind of a safer way of placing your vocals so that it doesn't have so much kind of if you think of like your chest voice versus your head voice, your chest voice is where your kind of belt naturally sits, and that's kind of that kind of sound, that full chest sound. So when you're mixing, you kind of try to use a part of that voice, but you bring it into your head voice, which is more of your flute sound, which is kind of woo woo woo, and you kind of mix the two so that it creates a kind of healthier sound, and it's not quite as powerful as your belt, but it's much safer and healthier. And when you're doing that song 8 times a week, if you were to take all the way up there constantly, you'd be exhausted. So yeah, find a safe kind of healthy middle voice for you, I would say as well. Hope that helped. Let's do a bit of the quiz and then I'll answer some more questions. So round 1 is some kind of history / general knowledge. So even if you haven't seen the show, you might still know some of these answers. So number 1, and like I said, you can pop them in the chat if you want to help each other out, or you can write them down for yourself, and I'll say the answers at the end, okay? So the first question is, who was, starting off with, I've written that wrong. Okay, who was Henry VIII's 5th wife? 5th. Who was Henry VIII's 5th wife? Okay. Number 2, what was Jane Seymour's son called? And if you've seen the show, she does actually say his name in the show. She doesn't say it in the song, but she says it in the show. And I actually didn't realise that she said it in the show until yesterday when I was writing these questions, and my boyfriend was like, I was like, what's Jane Seymour's son's name again? Which is terrible because I should know it anyway. And he was like, oh, doesn't she say that line about so someone's got that. Yeah, well done. Facebook group is going off with the answers. Number 3, why did Henry think his first marriage to Catherine of Aragon was cursed? And there's an A or B option here. So A, did he think it was cursed because his wife was older than him? Or B, because his wife was previously married to his brother? So A, did he think his marriage was cursed because A, his wife was older than him, or B, because his wife was previously married to his brother? And number 4. Which modern day country was Anna of Cleves from? Which country was Anna of Cleves from? Loads of people getting the right answers here, guys. Nice work. Yes. So, which country was Anna of Cleves from? That is number 4. Number 5. Oh, there's 6 questions per round, obviously, because we're 6 of the musical. Number 5. Who had the shortest lasting marriage to Henry? So, which wife, out of all 6, which wife lasted the shortest amount of time, marriage-wise? Which wife had the shortest marriage to Henry? And final question of this round, number 6. This is a tricky one, and you get a bonus point, okay? So where is Henry VIII buried, okay? And you get a bonus point if you can tell me who he's buried with. So where is Henry VIII buried? And bonus point if you can tell me who he's buried with. Let's see, are people saying all the right answers on the Instagram as well? Someone said he's buried in the ground. Very clever, but not the answer I was looking for. Oh, close. Yeah, there's some people who've got the bonus point, but no one seems to have got the... Oh, we've just had the correct answer come through. I'm not going to say what it is yet, but someone's just said the correct answer. Close, close. Excellent. All right, so now that we've done round 1, I'll go and answer some more questions. So let me just scroll up to the top. Okay. What am I drinking? Coffee. Oat milk latte. It's lovely. I've got a Lavazza machine. Would recommend. Are you really close with the cast? Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. It was actually really daunting kind of going into rehearsals, because I already knew some of the girls from their reputation, you know. Jodie Steele, I mean, what show has she not done? Lauren Drew, I mean, I've always been a fan of the vocals, okay? So I already kind of knew some of these girls, or I knew them by reputation, and I was a bit nervous because they're all really good. So it was really quite a daunting experience, kind of first day of rehearsal. But we've been so lucky. We're all a bit weird, our cast. We just have the best fun. We really have been paired together so well, and I think that's kudos to the casting team for kind of finding a cast that have got on as well as we have. So yeah, we've absolutely we love each other. We're very close. Let me do one off Facebook now. Scrolling. What was rehearsing for 6 like? It was exhausting. I won't lie to you. I was physically and vocally exhausted, but it was so much fun. Like, in the first week or so, I'm actually quite, I'm not that confident in my abilities, I'll put it that way. So the first kind of week of rehearsals, we did a lot to kind of try and embody the queen within us kind of thing, because obviously on stage, when you're portraying these characters, there has to be an essence of regality about you, or an essence of kind of knowing that you are the queen, essentially, you know, about you. So it's kind of, we did a lot of exercises to kind of bring that out in us, and I found that so difficult, because it's all just about kind of loving who you are and owning yourself and blah blah blah, and all of that stuff is so great, kind of, you know, for just everyone in life. It's so brilliant to be able to do that for yourself, to love yourself, and to kind of you know, feel empowered in your own skin and those kind of things. And we did a lot of exercises that were kind of along those lines. And even though I would recommend them to anyone, because they have made me feel more, you know, comfortable in my own skin, and they have made me feel empowered, but it was a really kind of tough barrier to break, if that makes sense. You know, it kind of, I felt really insecure about it. I really didn't kind of want to be the person that they were trying to kind of drag out of me, and I'm so glad that they did drag it out of me, because, but yeah, so that basically what I'm saying was, the first couple of weeks I felt very insecure, but actually by the end of it was so amazing. And the thing was that, you know, everyone in our cast, like I've said, was always so supportive, so we were all going through the same thing. But yeah, it was exhausting. We had 4 weeks of rehearsals all together, and we kind of, you know, did the same schedule every day. We would be in at 10, sometimes slightly earlier, but mostly 10. And we'd, you know, run choreo or run scenes or run songs. We did loads of exercises for the songs to get kind of the right emotional connection, things like that. And then, you know, as we kind of pieced the show together, then we started running it. And yeah, it was very tiring, but it was so much fun. So then after 4 weeks, we went into our first venue, which was Guildford, and we did our tech there. So we teched the show in our first venue. And so, yeah, that's that. Sorry, that was a really long-winded answer, but I hope that's answered your question. Were you in the audition with anyone who you're on tour with now? I think I saw Lauren. Oh, yeah, I was with Lauren Drew. A couple of the rounds. Who else? I think it might have only been Lauren Drew, you know, because there were so many different audition days, because so many hundreds of people auditioned. I feel very lucky, for some bizarre reason, to be playing Jane Seymour, but so many people auditioned. So, yeah, there was loads of different audition days. So actually, most of the cast I hadn't met until our photo shoot, which was a couple of weeks, maybe more than a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months before we started rehearsals. We went to the photo shoot, which was so fun and so weird, but it was great to meet everyone there. Oh, I'll do one off here. What is your pre-show routine? Well, I mean, as a cast, we all have a thing of when we're stood. If you've seen the show, we stand behind a purple curtain at the front of at the start of the show, and we all put our hands in and do that, woo, before the show. That's our good luck ritual. And what else? Pre-show routine. I mean, in the daytime before I kind of come into work, I always steam so that my voice is not too tired. And I tend to do some yoga or something like that to kind of set my mind up for the day. And then we get called at, is it an hour and a half normally before the show, or maybe 2 hours before the show? And we do a physical warm-up on stage, and then a vocal warm-up on stage, and then we go and get ready, basically, and then it's showtime. So yeah, that's the pre-show routine. If you could be any other queen apart from Seymour, who would it be? I think either, can I say two? I think either Pa, because in my opinion, she's the most badass. Like, bless her, she outlived him, didn't she? Bless her. She had a real tough time, but she was so cool. The things that she did for women, and she was amazing. So Pa is definitely up there. Or in terms of the show, Byrne is just hilarious. She gets the best lines. All of her script is cracking jokes. She's so funny. And obviously I'm hilarious, so that would work really well. So Byrne. What can someone who hasn't seen Six expect from seeing it? Oh, God. I mean, okay, so first of all, before you go in, because there's no interval. But it's just such an empowering show. It's so empowering. And if I'm honest, holding my hands up, I actually didn't think that I was going to like it before I went to see it. And I got offered the job and I still hadn't seen it. And I was like, oh, I don't know if this is really going to be my cup of tea, to be honest. And I went to watch it and I was like, oh, well, thank God, this is blooming brilliant, isn't it? It's just, you can't help but love it. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's left that show not enjoying it. You can't help but enjoy yourself. It's just the message is so wonderful. It's, you know, it just shows a message of build each other up, support each other, you know, love who you are and don't feel like you need to compare yourself. It's all of that encompassed in like 75 minutes of pop bangers. Like you literally can't not have fun. So yeah, that's what you should expect. How many auditions did you have to do to get the role? So I actually did quite a few. So first I went in and it was just a singing round. So I just had to take in a pop song, and they kind of gave a list of songs that were appropriate, and you had to kind of choose a pop song that would be along those lines. So I think I took two actually. I sang Beautiful Disaster by Kelly Clarkson and a Jessie J song, Who's Laughing Now? That one. So I did two, and we had to kind of sing them to the panel. Oh my gosh. Oh no, okay, fine. I just saw the time and I panicked that I only had 10 minutes left, but it's not. I have another half an hour after that. So I took two songs, and I had to sing them both, and they kind of gave direction, and they kind of said, you know, imagine that you had a microphone in your hand, imagine that you're singing to the front row of your sold out arena tour, that kind of thing, just to kind of get you in the pop star mindset, which is really different from a lot of shows. Not a lot of musicals kind of have that pop star character, you know. Most shows kind of, what's the word, didactic or non-didactic, I can't remember which way around it is, but most musical theatre shows, the characters aren't aware that they're singing. It's kind of, you know, it's part of their actor, you know, they do their scene and then they go straight into a song because it's like they can't do anything more than sing, but they're not aware of the fact that they're singing. Do you know what I mean? I can't remember which way around it is. Someone Google it. Didactic or non-didactic, one of those two words. But yeah, so this show is kind of different in that everyone is always aware that they're singing. They're always going to tell you, I'm about to sing a song, so sit down and watch, kind of thing. So that's kind of the difference there that we had to kind of get straight away in the audition process. So after that first audition, I then had to come back in and do, it was a big full day actually. We came in at 10 and what did we do first? I think we did a scene first. They had sent us some script to learn, and they had asked us to prepare one or more characters for that scene. And so I had been sent Jane Seymour and Anne Boleyn. I'd been asked to prepare her stuff as well. So then we read the scene, and the director kind of told us what he kind of wanted from the scene, and Lucy kind of said what she wanted from the scene. And then we ran it in groups, and they kind of redirected us. And then after that, there was a cut made, so it was pretty brutal. So there was a cut made there, and then we did we then did a dance call. I think we learnt Get Down. That was the first dance that I had to learn for this show, and I'm not the coolest, guys. I'm really not, as you can see from my Harry Potter tattoo and my Powerpuff Girls t-shirt. I'm not the coolest kid in school. So Get Down is all about being like the coolest, and I was like, this is not for me. But somehow I didn't get cut, and then we had to sing that afternoon as well. And there was a couple of days that were like that set up. But it was a big long day. It was kind of, I was there from 10 till 4 or 5 o'clock. So yeah, it was a big long day. And there was a couple of days like that. And then that was it. I was given the part. I was very lucky. I couldn't believe it. And actually, a quick little story is that so I was in for another show at the time. And I had found out that day that my friend had got the part that I was in for in the other show. So I knew that I hadn't got it. And so when my agent phoned, I expected the phone call of, oh, Lauren, I'm really sorry that you haven't been given the role in this other show that I was up for. And I picked up the phone and I was ready for the I'm sorry. And he went, hiya, Lauren, I'm just calling you with an offer from Six. And I had been in a foul mood all day waiting for the I'm sorry phone call. And then I picked up the phone and I was like, what? So was a bit of a roller coaster of emotions. So yeah, that was my whole audition process from beginning to end. Let's have a look. What are your go-to vocal warm-up exercises before a show? Okay, so before I would come into work, I have a little silicone straw, which sounds silly, but you can get them on Amazon, and they're about that thick, so they are quite thick. And basically what I do is I put the end of the straw into some water, only submerge it by about an inch, because if it's any more then the pressure will be too much, and I blow bubbles basically, and I blow bubbles just silently, just on a breath, like and then I blow bubbles on a hum, so into the straw, and then I blow bubbles on a siren, those kind of things, and that really helps to warm up your voice, and I do that before I go into work, so that then my voice kind of has a chance to reset. And then what do I do? When we start warm up in as a group, we do a lot of sirening, because that is the best kind of way to wake those vocal cords up. And then I do a lot of breath work, such as if your ribs need to swing out as much as possible. Basically, you don't want to see your shoulders raise or your chest rise, so your ribs swing out. And then things like huff huff. So we're really being aspirate here. So it's all kind of on a really breathy placement. And I go up the scale, huff, 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 huff. And I try and keep that rib swing out as much as possible. That kind of thing. Those are some good ones. So sirening. Sing. What else is a good one? I know that it sounds horrible and people don't really like to do it, but like the Alvin and the Chipmunks kind of sound is so beneficial when you're kind of constantly trying to belt really, really high notes, which is needed a lot in 6. So this is going to be a horrible sound. I'm really sorry. I apologise now for it. But things like yeah, that kind of nasal forward placement, that's really helpful. So yeah, those are a few for you. Couple more songs, couple more questions, and then I'll do the second round of the quiz. We had to do a school project on anything, and I chose musicals, and I did a page about my favourite musicals, and 6 was at the top. Oh, amazing! That's so cool. Going to more questions. Did you ever feel like giving up on acting? I think everyone reaches that kind of point at one point in their career. 1 second. Yeah, I think it's kind of a common thing to feel at some point. You know, not everyone is always going to have the perfect career where they go from job to job to job, and some people are going to be out of work for a year or 2 years or 3 years before they kind of hit their stride. So it can be really difficult to keep yourself motivated, but I kind of feel like, you know, I said it briefly earlier, if you are truly loving what you're doing, and if you're being proactive and looking for ways to kind of keep doing the things that you love, even if it's not in the way that you might think. So for example, when I'm out of work, and I spent the entire kind of end of 2018, beginning of most of 2019 up until I started 6 in September, I was totally out of work. So I had about a full year out of work before I got 6, which is, you know, one of the dream roles. So you can't really ever, you're never going to know when that role that's going to, you know, change your career is going to happen. And I think whenever I've kind of got to the point where I've been thinking, God, this is really hard, I've then thought, but tomorrow something might come in that I'm so right for, and that I could get hands down, and it might change. Gosh, someone's dropped something upstairs. And that might change everything. So I think you've just got to kind of keep the faith and keep that kind of confidence within yourself that because so much of this industry isn't based on your talent or isn't based on anything that you can do, unfortunately. That's why it's so hard, because you could be the most perfect person for the job. You could have all the look, you could have the voice, you could have the talent, you could have the acting ability, and for some reason they go with someone else because they just saw something different. And it's nothing to do with your talent. You've got to keep remembering that your talent isn't the only thing that people look for in this industry. And so don't let it get you down if you're not getting the roles that would be perfect for you. If they're perfect for you, then you'll play them one day. That's one that I kind of have to keep telling myself. There's a role that I've been up for so many years in a row, and I know how well I could do it. I know I could do it so well, and I just have to keep telling myself, I'll do it one day. One day I'm going to play that part. And I have to keep telling myself that, because otherwise you can get really down. Sorry, all of my answers are so long-winded. I need someone else here to tell me to be quiet. I'm just going on my own steam here. I'll do one more question and then we'll do another round. Amelie asks, what can you do to help when you have a sore throat? Because I get a sore throat a lot but still want to sing. So if it's a really sore throat, then I would advise don't sing, voice rest. But if it's just a bit scratchy or tickly, steaming is great. You can get a little steamer from Boots for about £8. They basically, I wonder if I have one. No, they're upstairs. They're a bit funny looking. They're white and they have two handles, and then they have like a face piece. And that, yeah, they're literally like £8 or something, and they're really good. Or you can get more kind of professional ones. Dr. Nelson's do a really great steamer. And a steamer is really, really good for your vocal health. It kind of keeps your vocal cords nice and hydrated. So if you are feeling like you have a bit of a chesty cough or a dry throat, if you're feeling dry in any way, steaming is great. If it's like phlegmy, don't steam, because that'll make the phlegm worse. Let's do the next round of the quiz. Okay, so round 2 is finish the lyric. Okay, so it'll be a lyric from 6 and you need to finish it or fill in the blank, essentially. So I'll sing the lyric and then you have to finish it. So, couldn't be better than he sent me a letter, and who am I kidding, I was... Okay, that was number 1. I'll do it again. Couldn't be better than he sent me a letter, and who am I kidding, I was... Okie dokie. Remember, you can pop it in the chat or you can write it down and I'll tell you the answers at the end. Number 2. Pull up outside in my carriage, don't got no marriage, so I have a little flirt with the footman as he takes my what? Pull up outside in my carriage, don't got no marriage, so I have a little flirt with the footman as he takes my... What does he take? Number 3. Remember that I was a writer. I wrote books and psalms and... What else did she write? Remember that I was a writer. I wrote books and psalms and... That was number 3. Number 4. You can build me up, you can tear me down, you can try, but I'm... What am I? That was number 4. You can build me up, you can tear me down, you can try, but I'm... Number 5. I need to get into the right mindset for this one. You say it's a pity because quoting Leviticus, I'll end up all my life. So there's a little blank in the middle there. You say it's a pity because quoting Leviticus, I'll end up all my life. So what's that little blank? I'll end up all my life. You say it's a pity because quoting Leviticus, I'll end up all my life. And then number 6, last one of this round. Oh yeah. We spent hours strumming the lute, striking the chords and blowing the what? We spent hours strumming the lute, striking the chords and blowing the... There we go. End of round 2. Everyone's getting the right answers. Maybe these were too easy. Well done. Everyone's nailing it. Okay, let's have a look at some more questions. I was thinking of auditioning for GSA after college. What was the audition process like? GSA, with any kind of audition process, but in particular for kind of drama schools, a thing that I would really say to remember is that you're there to audition them as much as they are there to audition you. So use it as a time to really get to know the feel of the school, because you will be able to. The teachers that are auditioning you will be there teaching you. So see if you like their kind of teaching style. See if the vibe of so much of it is about kind of the vibe that you get. Is it welcoming or is it kind of more strict, and what would benefit you? And you can really use those audition days as kind of a workshop to kind of get your head around whether it's somewhere that you would actually want to train. I really got that vibe when I went to GSA. It felt so welcoming, and I just thought actually those teachers are really going to be there for you, and that, you know, I loved the feel of the place, and so that was kind of what made me really, really want to train there. So yeah, I would say with those kind of auditions, really use it as a chance. Try and switch it around, try and make it in your head so that you're auditioning them, because it will take a bit of the nerves away as well. But the audition process for GSA, I did a singing audition first. So I went in and I can't even remember what song I sang. It was so long ago now, but I went in and I sang a song. And then I got recalled, and then it was a full day. So I did, there was a dance workshop, a singing workshop, and an acting workshop. And then after that, there was a little interview. But it was great, like I said, and I really did, you know, try to just learn as much as I could that day. And I think that shows, you know, it wasn't about me being there saying, look how good I am, look how much I can do, look how much of a great performer I am. Because if I was that great of a performer, I wouldn't need to go and train. For me, it was very much about, I'm ready to learn, I want to be here, I want to learn. And I think that was kind of the thing that they were looking for in applicants. And I think that'll be the same in a lot of schools, to be honest, because like I said, if you're the perfect performer, then you don't need to be going to train. They're looking for people with something in them, and someone with a readiness to learn. Yeah, that is basically what I'm trying to say. Hope that helps. What advice would you give your younger self? Oh God, so many things. I think mainly, and you hear it all the time, but stop letting what other people say affect what you think about yourself. When I was about, how old was I? When I was about maybe 13 or 14, maybe even slightly younger, I've always loved singing, and I've always loved performing, and I've always been the kid who, you know, got their parents to sit and watch an hour-long production that they've put on in their living room. Like, I've always been that kid. I've always loved doing it. And so when I got slightly older, and I think, you know, your teenage years can be really difficult, because for me it became, oh, she's such a show-off, or oh, she's so up herself, or oh, she loves, you know. And it wasn't ever about that I wanted to show off. I just enjoyed myself. That was what I enjoyed doing. I always have. I've always loved being on a stage. I've always loved singing. I've always loved dancing. You know, it's what I have fun doing. It's what I love and what brings me happiness. And so when I was doing that and other people were saying, oh God, look at her, that really affected me, because I just thought, oh God, I can't do what I love because people say that I'm a bad person because of it, so I can't do it anymore. So I think, yeah, it's so important just to kind of remember that if you are doing something that you love, and if you are doing something that brings you a load of joy, then you're winning already. You don't need their approval. You don't need their go ahead. You don't need them to say it's okay for you to do something. If you're enjoying yourself and if you're having a good time, then that's all that matters. And that was a really important thing for me to learn, and I think it took some time, but yeah, that was a really important thing to kind of wrap my head around. How many shows do you do each week? We do 8 or 9, depending on kind of the venue and the time of year. Sometimes at Christmas we did 10 shows in a week. That was tiring. But normally it's 8 or 9. Do they use new confetti every night for the end of the show, or do they have to reuse it? They reuse it. It's really gross. I don't like to think about it too much. What they do is they scoop it up off the floor and then they put it on, like, they put it through this like big sieve. They literally like hoover it up. Like they get one of those little, you know, those little hand hoovers, and they hoover it up and then they shake it out. So they're also like hoovering up all the dust and dirt that comes off our shoes and stuff. So it's a bit gross. And then they sieve it all out and then they put it back in to come back down. And sometimes you can tell if it's been a while since they've put in fresh confetti, because sometimes I can't remember, I don't know how long it is between, but maybe there's a couple of months and then they get a new batch of confetti and then they do that for a couple of months. But you can tell sometimes when there hasn't been a fresh batch of confetti for a while, because like dust starts to come down with the confetti, or like a stray hair will fall. It's gross. So I'm gonna move on. People are coming to see the show in December. Oh gosh, I hope we're back up and running by then. Fingers crossed. Do you have any tips for expanding your range? I think working on a safe mix is always a brilliant way to do that. So I would recommend getting a singing teacher who really knows what they're talking about in terms of mixing, because everyone's belt is going to go up to a certain... Sorry, I'm just at my rubbish little piano. Everyone's belt is going to go up to a certain note, and then you won't really be able to expand that. But what's good is mixing makes you sound like you're belting higher than you can. So definitely get a singing teacher who knows what they're talking about in terms of mixing, as well as kind of working on your chest voice and your head voice. Do you know what I mean? And actually strengthening your head voice is so beneficial. And I was always one of the people that when I was younger, I didn't have a very strong head voice. So work on that. That is really, really beneficial. If your head voice is nice and strong, then it will really influence your chest voice and your belt and your mix, if that makes sense. Everyone loves 6. Everyone loves 6. Everyone's getting these questions right. Questions. Excellent. I love you too. Someone said they loved me. I love you too. If you could be any other queen. Oh, I've answered that one. If you had to play... Oh, answer that one again. Sorry guys, just scrolling to find a question. What's your favourite part about being in 6 from Lulu? The whole show is so amazing. I think I didn't realise quite how much I would love it until we opened, and our opening night at the end of the show. I can't explain the feeling to you. You actually feel like a pop star. You feel like you've just sold out Wembley Arena. It's amazing. The audience are so incredible, and they always are. And actually, this is one of my favourite things. Touring the show is so amazing because you get to see so many different audiences and see how different people react to the show. So there's always, laughs in different places, or bigger cheers at some places than others in different venues. It's so amazing because people react to the show differently. So that's an awesome thing. I love that about the show. What are your biggest tips for pursuing a career in the business? Try to make the people around you, try to surround yourself with people who are supportive rather than competitive. Obviously everyone in this industry has to have a competitive side to them. It is kind of the nature of this business. We are competing with each other on a day-to-day level, and it is something that is a good thing to have, that competitive nature, and it makes you want to do well. It makes you have that drive to succeed. But I think it's very important to be able to separate that from loving your friends and having supportive people around you and supportive family around you, because if you're only ever competing with all of the people around you, you're never going to be happy, because either you'll be in the situation where you're not doing as well as someone, or you'll be in a situation where you're doing so much better than someone, and either way it's a horrible position to be in. So I think, you know, if I'm at the place now where if my best friend in this industry was to get the role that I had dreamed about playing, and we were, even if we were both up for the same part and it was down to us two and she got it over me, of course I would be upset for myself, but I've had to learn to separate that from being happy for other people, because you've got to have that kind of ability with it where you're able to separate it. It's so much healthier for your own mind, if that makes sense. So that's kind of my biggest tip in pursuing a career, is make sure that you have supportive people around you, and make sure that you are supportive of your friends as well, because it will make the industry a nicer place, a more friendly place to be, if that makes sense. Everyone's getting all the questions right. Very, very good. What's your favourite dance routine from 6? I think No Way. It's at the beginning of the show, so I still have lots of energy. Whereas at the end of the show, I'm always exhausted. But it's really fun, and it's kind of salsa-y. So No Way, that's a good one. I'm just going to take a sip. That's freezing cold. So yeah, No Way for sure. Have you ever made a mistake during the show? Yes. You have to find them funny. You have to be able to laugh at yourself. But oh my gosh, I've made quite a few little mistakes, but the worst mistake I ever made was we were in Bath, and I think it was maybe our first night there, and we'd done the tech session, we'd got in fine, we'd run the scene because we run that scene in the tech session. It's the opening chat scene where all the queens basically explain the premise of the show, and they kind of say, so, you know, this is what we're going to be doing in the show. We're going to be competing with each other, and we're going to we're going to try and get you guys to decide who was treated the worst by Henry VIII, who had the worst life, effectively. That's the beginning of the show. And Catherine of Aragon says, tonight we're going to answer your questions, and we're going to answer your questions. And then Byrne cuts in and says, and tell you what you really, really want to know. Then I'm supposed to say, that's right, we're here to help you figure out which one of us is, and then it goes, boom, the Queen of the Castle, boom, the Rose Among the Thorns, boom, the Thomas Cromwell amongst the royal ministers between 1342, I don't know the dates, my bad, it's not my line. And then, so Catherine of Aragon said her line, Anne Boleyn said, and tell you what you really, really want to know. And then I went, that's right, and honestly, all words left my brain. It wasn't just that I forgot the line, I genuinely forgot how to form words, okay? And I was looking at the audience, the front row, there was 2 girls sat there in the front row, and they were like, oh no. And I knew that they knew, obviously everyone knew. I hadn't spoken in about 15 seconds. And then I was looking to my left and to my right at, like, Shekinah stood right next to me, and I was like, Shekinah, say a line, just say any line, I don't care, what line is it? Oh God, it was so terrifying, but also, when looking back, it's hysterically funny, and you have to laugh, but in that moment, I have never been so scared. It was truly terrifying. And then because I forgot it, I then had a massive thing about it and nearly forgot it a bunch of other times because I was so worried about it and was so in my head. Oh, terrifying, but hilarious. What's your favourite song? What was your favourite song place to perform? I'm just assuming what song to perform. In general, my favourite song to sing, I have a couple of different songs that I kind of go to for, like, audition songs, which are kind of my standard audition songs. One is Heaven on Their Minds from Jesus Christ Superstar, and Judas sings it, and it's normally a guy's song, but I love to sing that song in an audition because people don't really expect it, and everyone's like, a girl singing a male song? What? So that's quite a good one. What else have I got in the old rep folder? Oh, Angels, Punks and Raging Queens. That's such a nice song to sing. It's not too difficult. Doesn't go too crazy high and belty. It's just a nice, easy, pretty song, and it's quite folky, and my voice is quite folky. So yeah, I love that song. How do you control your nervousness? God, I have no idea. If anyone has any answers on that, let me know. I was absolutely terrified on the opening night, but I think nerves, it's one of those tricky things because it's good that you have them, and I think you just have to acknowledge that you're gonna feel nervous, and that's okay, and you don't need to control them. You just need to be in acknowledgement of them and let them be, and be aware that, you know, they're not going to have an effect on you at the end of the show. When you've nailed it, those nerves are just going to be like, oh well, that was silly of me. You know, you just kind of have to acknowledge that they're there, and be okay with them, and know that actually sometimes they're a good thing because they give you adrenaline. And sometimes I think when you get to the point where you don't feel nervous anymore, you're not delivering the best show that you can, because there's no urge to do really well, you know. So I think nerves can be a really good thing. What would your dream role be in any West End show? I don't normally talk about my dream roles because I don't like to jinx it, but I think I'll tell you one of them, which would be... Oh God, okay. One of them is Elphaba. I'd love to be Alphabet at some point, but that's one of those things that it's like, not yet. That's a long time away, if ever. But I'd love to do that at some point. What age did you start having singing and dancing lessons? Dance lessons, I actually started with gymnastics, which was a bit of a weird way in. I started with gymnastics when I was about 4 or 5, I guess, and I just and some of it is quite dance based, so I did that up until I was about 12, and then I was never amazing, so I kind of got to the point where I plateaued and I couldn't really do any more. That I'd kind of reached my my limit with gymnastics, and one of my gymnastics teachers actually said, you know, you really love the dance based stuff, why don't you go and do some ballet lessons? And that was kind of how I got into that. And then I got into the other stuff kind of through that. I'd started ballet lessons and I really loved it. So then I looked into other dance classes and found kind of jazz dance and tap and modern and blah, 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 and then started all of those classes as well. And then through that, I started a Saturday school where I had it was like a stage school, where I did loads of singing and acting and dancing and all sorts. And yeah, it just kind of started from there. So I wasn't actually that young. I know some people in this industry are like, I've been singing since I was in the womb, whereas me, it was kind of slightly later on. Even though I've always loved it, even though I've always been like, Mum, sit down, I'm going to sing for you, it was kind of the actual training process for me started slightly later. A couple more friends. What's your favourite musical apart from Six? The first musical I ever went to see was Wicked, which was probably why Elphaba's one of the dream roles, because I remember sitting there and being like, when she flew at the end of Defying Gravity. So that's a big one. Another one, one of my favourite musicals is Company by Stephen Sondheim. It's so brilliant. It's so clever. Anything Sondheim is just insanely clever, but Company in particular is just so great. And I saw the gender swapped version that they did in the West End a couple of years ago, and it was brilliant. The Saturday school that I went to was called Show Shack. Sorry, I've just seen that pop up at the bottom, and it was in Farnham. What was your first impression of Six the musical? Oh, I kind of touched on this earlier, but I listened to the soundtrack and I was like, what on earth is going on? Especially when it got to House of Holbein, and I was like, what's going on? This is mental. And I kind of didn't really get it until I went to see the show. And then when I left the show, I was like, oh my gosh, that's absolutely genius. It is genius. They've nailed it. Lucy and Toby are absolute geniuses. What's one thing that you do to stay close to home when I'm out on the road? I think, you know, you always have your phone there, so you can always be in touch with anyone, you know, as soon as you start missing someone, you can call them. But I like to bring a lot of kind of my kind of home comforts with me on tour. You know, I bring fluffy socks or my books. I read a lot, so I bring lots of books with me, and I always do have a Harry Potter in the bag just in case, you know. What else do I do? In terms of in the theatres, it's quite nice to kind of have certain things that you bring into your dressing room that you have in each venue. So like some people, you know, bring pictures with them, pictures of their friends or family that they can pop up on the mirrors. I tend to like to bring a lot of kind of smelly stuffs, perfume or sprays or incense or kind of those kind of things, because I like smells. So yeah, just things that make you feel slightly more comforted. It's nice to have them in the dressing room as well. Do you know if you'll still be performing after July? Yes, we will. We don't know how long for, unfortunately, because obviously we don't know what's going on at the moment. But yeah, we'll be back. In any other West End show, what would be your dream? Oh, I've answered that. Has your answered that? When did you start theatre work? So I graduated Guildford School of Acting in 2016. And since then, I've done a couple of different shows. I've done, what's the time? Okay. Oh my gosh. I've run over. Okay, last question. And then do the singing. I've got to sing a song. So what was the question? I've forgotten it. I've literally forgotten it. So sorry. Couldn't tell you. Brain like a sieve. So I'm going to tell you the answers to my questions, and then I'm going to sing a little song to end on, okay? So, the first round, who was Henry VIII's fifth wife? The answer was Catherine Howard. So if you got that right, give yourself a big tick. Question 2 was, what was Jane Seymour's son called? And it was Edward. And the line that she says in the show that my boyfriend reminded me of was something about Edward, not an Edwina. So I should have known, but I couldn't remember. Number 3 was, why did Henry think his first marriage to Catherine of Aragon was cursed? Was it A, because his wife was older than him, or B, because his wife was previously married to his brother? The answer was, of course, B. Number 4 was, which country was Anna of Cleves from? And the answer is Germany. Loads of people got that right. Number 5 was, who had the shortest lasting marriage to Henry? And the answer was Cleves. And she nailed it. She got all the palaces. She just got a cheeky little divorce. Then she got her palace and her grounds and her horses and everything. She nailed it. And number 6, where is Henry buried? And I didn't see too many people get this right. So the correct answer is he's buried in Windsor Castle. Oh no, I only have 1 minute and 56 seconds remaining on Instagram. I might have to come back in. And bonus point, he's buried with Jane Seymour, the only one he truly loved, am I right? Then the second round we had, number 1, it couldn't be better than he sent me a letter and who am I kidding I was? Pret-a-manger. Of course it is. Number 2 was, pull up outside in my carriage, don't got no marriage, so I have a little flirt with the footman as he takes my fur. As you were. Fur. He took my fur. Number 3 was, remember that I was a writer. I wrote books and psalms and meditations. Very clever, Kathy P. Number 4 was, you can build me up, you can tear me down, you can try, but I'm unbreakable. Unbreakable, bless her. Number 5 was, you say it's a pity because caught in Leviticus, I'll end up kiddyless all my life. Kiddyless. We were looking for kiddyless to fill that little blank. And number 6, we spent hours strumming the lute, striking the chords and blowing the flute. That was the last one. Right, with Instagram, I'm just going to end this live and then come back real quick and sing a little song for you. So don't go away. I'll be. You guys on Facebook, you're still there.